You're listening to the Big Sci Fi Podcast, the biggest sci fi podcast in the galaxy, with Adina, Brian, Chris, and Steve. We're a part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, and we're having more fun than ever celebrating our 10th season and 4 years of friendship talking all things science fiction. Calling all sci-fi fans, you're invited to the party. Let's have some fun.
Hello and welcome back to the Big Sci Fi Podcast, where we talk all things sci-fi. On this show, we get nerdy, we get spicy, and sometimes we laugh hysterically. Today, I want to talk about a superhero classic, Spider-Man 2, the one where Tobey Maguire faces off against Doc Ock, love triangles, back injuries, and lots of screaming. Is it really a superhero classic in one of the greatest superhero films of all time? Or has it not aged as well since its release 22 years ago? And yes, you are correct in thinking that that's the exact amount of time between, or rather, that the amount of time between now and Spider-Man 2 is the exact amount of time between the Enterprise C and the Enterprise D. To help me analyze this film in excruciating detail are my friends Adina Magnona and Steve Merkin. Unfortunately, we are short of Brian Donahue, who is off on an extended away mission. How is everyone doing today?
Doing very fine. Yes.
Jinx.
Great.
You got it out of the way, Chris. You made the Star Trek reference right at the very beginning, so we're done. Okay.
22 years.
Yeah. We've met our required need to do that. Our due diligence, that's the word. Our due diligence of mentioning Star Trek at some point. Yes.
I can't believe this was 22 years ago.
I know.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, it is crazy. Because I will give some backstory before we actually get into our thoughts about it. I love this movie. I watch it. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but back in the day, I used to have a thing called a PlayStation Portable, and that was a really cool game.
Wow, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And on it, they had, or their discs were called the Universal Media Discs, which was a great name. It only worked on the PSP because it's a Sony thing. And I had Spider-Man 2 on my PSP, and I would watch it all the time. And it was so cool. In 2005, to be watching a really high quality movie on a device that wasn't a TV was crazy. So I used to watch this all the time. So I love it, but I was rewatching it again for the first time in probably 4 or 5 years, I feel like. So I'm curious to see how everyone feels about how it's aged and how it is now to watch it here in, what year is it? 2026.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that is the amount of time that's gone by since this came out. It's I didn't really realize it until you just said that. This came out in 2000. It was released in 2004. So yeah.
So the only thing when you think about the date shift, or looking at this now through the lens of 2026 versus back then, I didn't put much thought into it back then, as much as I've always been into AI and robotics, but it really did hit me on the rewatch. When you first get introduced to Doc Ock, and he's first putting those arms on him, he talks about the arms are AI.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And someone in the audience mentioned, hey, what's to prevent them from taking over you? And he's like, oh, there's this little chip and everything like that. That hits differently now than it did 20 whatever years ago that you said. Other than that,
oh yeah,
well, no, it just said it was noticeable more that it's like back then. I don't know. I feel like I just glossed over it. Where today, thinking through, I guess, how do I say this? I didn't. Even though they said these arms are AI enabled, right? They said it 20 something years ago, it didn't really land. I didn't notice, I noticed it, but not so much. Where now it's like, ooh, now they're actually I don't know. It just hit different because of the conscious awareness of AI. And I say this as someone who's always been interested in the AI and robot space.
Yeah, and I will say again, to bring up Trek, it's like watching Voyager now and watching all of the shows really has a different feeling. Like I was rewatching the episode where the Doctor is writing a novel, or he writes a holodeck novel, and then they have to prove that he is in fact a person so that he can get the publisher to like remove
Publish.
it from
Yeah.
projects. Yeah, to get it
Mm-hmm.
published from being published. And it's like so crazy to think about a computer program wrote a novel and we as Trekkies feel like, yeah, he deserves it. But then on the other hand, I'm seeing AI slop that's showing up. So it hits differently. So when you bring up the fact that, yeah, the AI mechanical arms are a little bit again, I don't know how you would phrase it, but it does hit a bit differently, thinking that, okay, now we're hearing about AI a lot more than we were in 2004. And it's a
Right.
lot more available to us than it
Right.
was in 2004.
And I think that's one of the things, of course, now we're going to go talk about Star Trek for a minute, but I think that's one of the things that's different with the Doctor and back then, where when we were thinking about the Doctor when Voyager first aired, the Doctor was a very one-off, unique entity.
Right. Yeah.
There weren't copies or clones of the Doctor everywhere. Where in today, everyone has access to generative AI tools and can generate stuff. So
Yeah.
when it was like a one-off unique, then you're like, oh, the Doctor is being creative. This is interesting. This is cool. But now when everyone has the technology, and there's also a difference. There is a very big difference between the Doctor self-initiating the creativity versus us using the tools. So there is a lot of differences,
Yeah.
even in Star Trek, Data is a very interesting, unique AI that did a lot of
Mm-hmm.
creative things on his own, self-initiating.
Mhm.
But the enterprise computer, which is also an AI, is closer to me to what we have what we're currently experiencing in the real world because it is not self-initiating.
Yeah, it's not
No,
It still takes a
self-initiated.
person. It's a tool. It takes a person to make
it
something happen.
responds
But
to
it is crazy
commands and
though.
input, and it
Mhm.
responds to requests as opposed
But it
to
is
giving
Yes.
an answer automatically.
But it is
Yes.
cool that like even Data was like, hey, or I think it was Jordy who was like, hey, can you create like take all of the knowledge you have about Sherlock Holmes and create like a unique mystery? And the computer was
Yes.
able to sort of do that, which is
Yes.
wild. It's closer to like entering a prompt and saying, hey, make a video about this thing.
Yes. Yes. There are a lot of, so I've done several talks on like AI and space AI and Star Trek. And really, if you look at all the interactions with the computer, particularly the Enterprise D computer, and especially, relating to the holodeck, it is so super exactly similar to what we can do today with generative AI tools. But again, all of that, everything that they're doing with the enterprise computer and the holodeck is initiated by a human. The human is using it as a tool, which is very, very, very different than the presumably conscious, presumably sentient Data who self-initiates creativity stuff and the Doctor who self-initiates creativity stuff. Those are
Mhm.
different. So there's different categories. So while I'll maintain that we're close to the enterprise computery kinds of things, we are not close to the Data Doctor things. But
Mhm.
getting back to
Two,
Spider-Man,
Spider-Man
since we're supposed to, okay.
two.
So
Which is
tying
where
it
we're
back to
supposed to be.
Spider-Man. Yes. So those arms as AI enabled, I am very confused because to me, it seems like they should have been more in that tool category versus something that could self-initiate.
So
Right.
yeah,
It
that's
makes no sense that they
probably
self-initiated or affected him that way.
one thing that always confused me, even as a kid, that always confused me is one, they self-initiate, but then two, they seem to like control Doc Ock and convince him to like build the machine. It's like, well, why do they
Yes.
have any investment in whether or not he builds
Yes.
his I don't even know, his fusion device, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
But
So
it
that
Yep.
seemed
part's
like it seemed like he was in control of it to use it as a tool to be able to create the fusion device that it could
Right.
handle the material that he needed, the tritium that he
yeah,
needed to be
trivia.
able to initiate the fusion reaction. So
Mhm.
it to me it always was like he should have been in control all the time. And the moment that for some reason it breaks on its own, he doesn't damage it, it doesn't
Yeah.
destroy it, it just breaks on its own. And all of a sudden now he's a tool of the robotic arms until the
Mhm.
end of the film where, that perky inner person of good just comes through and takes over.
Brilliant but
Yeah.
lazy. And it's just like, hey, you got to solve this.
Brilliant.
But
I love that line. I love that line
yeah.
about
But
And also, of
Spider-Man.
course, we have to acknowledge Donna Murphy's in this, the other Trek connection, and then as Doc Ock's wife, who we know from Insurrection.
Hmm.
And of course, there's another gentleman whose name I can't think of, who's one of Doc Ock's assistants, and he shows up in Voyager as a pilot in the episode Blink of an Eye when they uh, get stuck on a planet that evolves super fast. And that's
okay.
out of the way. We've
Yeah.
established it. We move
Okay.
on.
Okay. Let's.
But
What
I was gonna
are
say,
Oh yeah.
other than that, the AI thing, I feel like the movie landed perfectly fine
Yeah.
watching it
How
now.
did you so how did you feel about it, Steve?
Well, the one thing that
Overall
always
thought.
bothers me about these superhero films is okay, so he has this device that attaches itself to his spine and interacts
Mhm.
with his cerebral cortex. All right. He's still a guy. He's still a
Mhm.
man, right? So why does this man be able to hit brick walls, smash on top of things, crush through whatever? He doesn't get a single scratch on him. I can understand Spider-Man because he is invincible in his radioactive Spidiness, but Doc Ock should have been like dead a whole bunch of times in that movie
But I
himself.
think that's a good point.
Aren't
I've
the
always just
arms
taken
protecting him? Like,
the
Not
armors
no, but
protect him.
if his body hits a wall, remember when Spider-Man jumps off the building and he falls down, he goes, "Oh my back!
Yeah,
Oh,
he
I
breaks his
hurt
back.
myself," because he's no
Yeah.
longer has the Spider-Man powder. So he gets hurt by that. But Doc Ock, for some reason, ain't nothing gonna happen to him. And that again, that's the thing about these superhero films. They always people who are regular people for somehow are able to endure tremendous injuries and suffer nothing from that. And
Yeah, I'm
that's
always
just something you accept from these films.
I'm always taking it as just that the arms are protecting him. But Spider-Man's pretty vulnerable. Like he does get beat up a lot. Like obviously he's stronger,
well,
but he can still get
not
pretty
just the arms,
decently
but
hurt.
there's a wraparound on a good chunk of his torso
Yeah,
that
that's true too.
Mm,
I could kind of see. Now, again, I guess I didn't look at these scenes that carefully when Doc Ock's getting beat up, but I can kind of see that the way he might have moved or whatever, the machinery is taking the initial brunt force of whatever damage. But I guess I'm going to say I
Yeah.
didn't necessarily examine
well,
those stuff
even
closely
in the
enough.
even in the films like right now where Black Widow and the Hawkeye, I mean they're just
Mhm.
people, but some means they take a licking and they get nothing from it. So that's just
Well,
the nature of these films. That's the way that they're
yeah.
created because they are
And
based on comic books. So
to
yes.
give credit to Hawkeye, they actually do the whole thing where he's like having issues with his hearing, and then like it's sort of a joke, but it's also very serious. Where they're like, "Hey, what's
Hmm.
going on with you?" And then he like there's like a montage of him just getting the living daylights beat out of him.
Yeah.
So that was always kind of fun to show that hey, Hawkeye is not a super like he's a superhero, but he's not superhuman. So he
Right.
is like Black Widow, more vulnerable. I was
Right.
always on his coat. Like the fact that the arms would have had to like cut holes into the coat so he could put the coat on, because that's always
Yeah.
kind of thought that would be kind of goofy. I'm glad they
That's
didn't show
that's a
it,
good point. I didn't even think about it. Yeah, because he puts on
but
shirts
that's
and stuff. He's still
always
got this whole thing on the back, but that's okay.
yeah.
I mean, that's just the way, this way these films are because he's got to make it all the way to the end of the movie and he can have the fight scenes. To me, like one of the most beautiful scenes in the movie is at the end when Spider-Man stops the train
Yeah, I
and
love it.
then everyone carries him through the train because
Yeah.
he is and then that whole line where the little kid looks at him and said, we won't say a word. I mean, that is sequence is my favorite part of the whole film because it's very human. It's really very sweet.
Yes. I enjoyed that scene as well. I want to say the other one too, though, was when he's confessing to Aunt May what really happened
Oh
with Uncle
yeah.
Ben.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
That
powerful.
is also pretty, yeah, powerful is exactly the word I was going to use for that.
Yeah. Especially when she gets up and she just walks up the stairs and just leaves him there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
that
that's a
was
lot
really,
to, well, that's a lot. That's a
Lot
lot
to process.
to take.
yeah.
Yes.
I will say too, on a personal level, like if we jump into the first one for a second, like the fact, like him dealing with the fact that he let the robber get away, that ended up killing Uncle Ben, and then the fact that the last thing he said to Uncle Ben was like, "You're not my father, I hate you." Not really, I hate you, but just that it was an argument has always stuck with me so much to the point where I'm like, I refuse. Like anytime I'm talking to someone that I care about, I try to let them know how I feel about them because, like. Tobey Maguire over Uncle Ben's body dealing with that has just always stuck with me. So
Yeah.
seeing him dealing like confessing to Aunt May about that is just like it's a gut-wrenching scene.
Right.
And the whole movie for me is like obviously it's great superhero stuff. I love all the action scenes, but I love Tobey like Peter Parker trying to deal with the fact that he's Spider-Man, but he also has a life that he needs to you know, do things and he needs to like finish his paper on time. He needs to hold a job. He needs to try and make it to Mary Jane's play on time. And just all that stuff is harder for him because he is Spider-Man. And so I always love that balance that he tries to
Oh,
find
yeah.
with it.
I like the montage when he like he thinks he's given up being Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's happy for a minute.
He's
He's
walking.
succeeding at all the things. He is
Yeah.
doing all the things, That was kind
Hmm.
of fun. That's a
No,
fun scene.
that's cute because he's got that very goofy, likable face that he has.
Mhm.
Especially he puts on the glasses, and especially when he regains his power and he's like, wait a minute, I'm putting on the glasses, I can't see. Oh, that's right. I don't need him anymore because he's gotten back to being Spider-Man again. I mean, it was, it was like he lost his groove, which is why he couldn't flop anymore. That was the first signs that said things were wrong with him. He couldn't eject the Spidey goo. So it's almost like he's got those feet of clay are appearing, and he's losing his mojo, and that was kind of interesting of what it took to get back to that. And then, it was always that interesting scene where Mary Jane goes to her fiance and she goes, "Let me kiss you," and she does it upside down,
Just to
like
see.
from the first
Yeah, she's
film,
like
just to see,
checking.
like,
Right.
and she's like, "Nah, this doesn't seem
Yep.
right." And
Yep.
so those are the scenes that are really good in this. Her leaving everyone at the altar was very Mrs. Robinson-ish, where you leave them standing at the altar going, "What happened?"
Yeah,
Yeah, but
that's a little bit
Yeah.
rough, but at the
I'm
same time,
glad.
it's better that she left instead. It would have been
Yes.
worse if she had married him and then was like, "Oh, I made a big mistake."
Yeah.
I
Yes.
remember on a very personal note, I was told by, I think my mom told me this, that my grandfather, when she got married, he was like, "Hey, if this isn't what you're looking like, if this doesn't feel right, I will cancel everything right now. Don't worry about it. Just leave because this is a huge decision you're making."
Oh,
So I
on a very
understand
personal
like
note, yeah. That's hilarious that you say that about your grandfather saying that to your mom and that your mom did wind up getting divorced. Because
yeah.
I'm gonna raise my hand and it's
Mhm.
like dads know because right before my first wedding, my dad was there and said to me the same thing. Like, you don't he said, I think his exact words were, "You don't have to go through with this." Like he knew. He knew something, like
Okay.
he just knew. Dads know.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
Most
on
dads
that.
know, except I don't think J.
Okay.
Jonah Jameson
Yeah.
really knew that
Okay.
anything was
In the
actually.
Okay.
real world,
Okay.
dads of the daughter, dads of the bride. So I'm going to be a bit more
Yeah.
specific.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yes.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. This is a true story. When I worked and had a coworker with me, this is going back almost 50 years. Anyway, we were working together and she was going to marry this guy that she just met. And I told her, I said, "Don't do it. Don't marry him." She said, "But I love him." I said, "No, you're rushing into it. This is wrong." And everyone at work said, I said, "I'm not going to the wedding." And this is someone who was a friend for, 10 plus years. And I said, I'm not going to the wedding. And everyone said, you have to go, you have to go. And I said, no. And guess what? She ended up divorcing the guy.
Well, okay. Now in this case, I'm going to say you still should have gone to the wedding.
No, I couldn't go. Because I was so against it. I said, like, if I went, that I was acknowledging that it was okay, and I just refused to go.
That's not what that's doing. That's not what I don't think that's what that's doing.
But she said later on, she said, you were right.
Well,
So,
yeah.
So,
But you could have been wrong. But here's the thing. Obviously, you could have been wrong, right? Right. And anyway, I mean, my dad could have been wrong. Chris, your grandfather could have been wrong. Things could have been
Yeah.
It's just the fact that, this is called confirmation bias. This is confirmation bias.
What is sorry, in what sense? Well,
in the sense that we've got these anecdotal examples of, dads or dad-like figure saying, hey, this is not right. And then, of course, it wasn't right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely confirmation bias in that sense. But I just love that she ultimately made the decision to not be with.
Yes.
But that's also really unfair to I forgot his name. He's an astronaut. I think he was supposed to become Venom, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh.
Or there was some rumor that in the third one he was gonna go into space and then get the Venom parasite. I don't remember if I
Something
read
sounds
that.
familiar about that.
Yeah, but whatever his name is, it kind of, I feel bad for the guy. Like he, obviously his family put a lot of money into the wedding, but it's better off than him being married to someone who isn't in love with him. I'd rather know at that point than know 5 years down the road.
Yeah, she did the right. She did the right. She probably did the right thing.
Yeah, that's what she ended up doing. I will say that in all of the Spider-Man movies, my singular favorite character, without a doubt, is J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh,
he plays it so over the top. I love it. You're fired. Nope. Try to get in here. You're refired. I need you to go here. Okay, don't do this. Take the picture. I love his gruff demeanor. He's so funny. I mean, I think with the last one or the Homecoming, he's really a jerk.
Yeah, he's much more aggressive, I feel like.
Yeah, it's about wanting to destroy Spider-Man no matter what. But he is so funny. And then he gets the he gets the Spidey outfit and puts it on the wall like, aha, look what I got. I got his outfit on my wall. And then boom, Spider-Man steals it away from him and he's all mad again.
He switches. He's like, oh, only Spider-Man could have done it. Could have saved Mary, saved my daughter-in-law. It would have been great if he was here. Then the minute he gets the thing, he's like, oh, what? No, Spider-Man's criminal.
Well, the thing about Jameson is I think J.K. Simmons, who plays him, might be one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood.
Gosh.
He has such a significant range of what he can do, which is pretty impressive. Both he does voice acting, and then a lot of people, I think, just know him from that series of commercials he was in.
For insurance. For the insurance company. Bum, bum,
yes.
bum, 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 bum.
Yeah. Yes. Watch him in film and TV. He has got a very significant range. And I would say he is definitely on my top list of, if you come up with a list of the most underrated actors in Hollywood, he is right up there.
Yeah. Because I have to watch, is it Whiplash, the jazz, the drumming movie that he's in, where he plays an abusive.
Oh, no.
I don't know that one.
About that. No.
I heard he did really well in that, but I have not seen it. But yeah, he is really impressive. But his lines, for me, the opening scene for me, from the no wait, stop to him, I guess, getting the money for the photo, is just, I love it so much, and it's something that I can just quote forever. And sometimes I'll, if I'm having a hard time sleeping, I'll try and think and go through the dialogue, and I just, hello, you're fired. Dog's catching. First week, a couple of kids are playing chess. I pay you. I don't pay it to be incentive artiste. I pay it because for some reason that Psycho Spider-Man will pose for it. And I just love it. And I gotta say, I don't know if this is also because my buddy and I, we were dumb kids when we saw this. But to this day, we still laugh about whoa, he stole that guy's pizza. What a great, the guy not making the connection that, that kid is Spider-Man. That kid that kid that ran in the alleyway definitely is not Spider-Man. So Spider-Man must have stolen his pizza, and that's the jump that he made. So
Now,
great opening. I
okay,
will to the end of time.
Yes,
Jump
yes,
in.
I do
Adina.
want to transition to like one of my things that just continues to irk me about this movie, and I think it irks me about
Okay.
every single Spider-Man
Yeah.
movie.
Do it.
Sometimes, and it happens several times closer to the end of this movie. Sometimes he deploys his web slinger.
Hmm.
Where is it attaching to? Like
That is a
there are
fair
some
question.
scenes where it's like no, there is nothing there. Where is he swinging from? Especially at the end of this movie after the fusion machine gets destroyed and he's like like going away with MJ. Like where is the web attached to? It's attached to nowhere.
Mhm.
It drives me bonkers.
It's
Every
so
movie
funny.
has at least a few of these.
It's so funny because I've never really thought about where they're attaching to, but what does bother me, especially in the train sequence, is when he's webbing when he's webbing everything
Yes.
up the train, the webs come out of his hand, and obviously you guys can't see this because you're listening to it, but it comes out of his hand, but then suddenly he's holding onto them as if they're out of the hand, and he's holding them like ropes, but they've somehow detached from the hand, and I can't figure out how he did that.
Well, that one
That's such a
doesn't bother me
minor
because I could
thing.
feel like if it's
Yeah.
coming out of the wrist and into the hand, right?
Hmm.
He's
Then he
just
could maybe,
yes.
but it's because it's separated that I'm like, okay, there's something weird going on. This is
Yeah,
such a
okay, I
minor
guess.
thing.
Yeah.
But I see your
No,
point
but
though about like where it's
details
at, like
matter.
I
what, sir?
I
Details matter
Yeah, I love overanalyzing.
sometimes.
That is what we do. But you are
details
right
in
though.
wait a minute, hold on, Adina. Details in a Marvel film? That's like
Fine, fine.
that's
I,
like
I'm
I
saying
I
sure.
heard it. I know what I said.
I don't
It's
know. I
ridiculous.
think that's a fair thing because it's supposed to be that he's attaching to buildings and he's attaching to like higher buildings and that's how he's swinging.
Right. But so then if there's
And they
no
make a
obvious
big
building around, right? So that at the scene when the fusion thing collapses into the water, there is
hmm
like no building around because it all collapsed. So
right.
where is he swinging from?
And
Where?
I have to
why
rewatch.
dunking it okay, and why dunking in the water shuts it down?
Well, similar to that's how actually if you have a nuclear power plant, that's one of the protective measures is flooding it with water.
That's true. Okay.
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 So
Okay.
can I, Adina, this is obviously your wheelhouse. This is the thing that's
Eh,
always bothered me. I don't know, am I
I'm not a
crazy?
nuclear engineer. I'm a space
But you're
engineer.
But you
the
play one on
closest thing we
TV, so that's
have.
okay.
You're the
Okay,
closest
sure,
thing we
sure.
have to someone that can
But if
answer this
any of my
question.
friends who are listed, I have friends who have degrees in nuclear engineering. If I get something wrong, please
Okay. So
ignore
they
the
can
fact that I
chime
do have a
in
degree in
too.
physics. Okay, anyway, go
Okay, so
ahead. What's
here's
your
my
question?
thing. So he builds the machine the first time. He gets a small piece of tritium. It doesn't work. And then he gets the idea that, oh, he has to make it larger. He has to make a bigger containment system. Totally get that. But then when he goes to get the tritium he uses for the larger system, it's a much larger amount of tritium. So I feel like, is the ratio right? Wouldn't he have been better off to just use the same amount of tritium so that only the containment unit was bigger and not the
Okay,
amount of tritium. That
I'm gonna
always bothered me.
say it doesn't matter because it is completely and utterly made up.
Okay,
None of
fair
that
enough.
ties to anything real in the real world, so it's okay.
Right.
Like whatever they did is totally fine there because
But
it
even
is
within the rules of the universe,
within the rules of that universe. I think there because it's completely made up. There's nothing that seems to be it. Like I don't think there's anything like
okay.
sure,
So
you
you're
know,
telling me, just to put it on record, the thing that's bothered me for 22 years, you're telling me it doesn't
yeah.
matter. That's what I'm taking away.
I
Which
might
is
be saying that. I'm
okay.
sorry.
Which is
Oh,
interesting
sorry. Okay.
because on today on the coverage about the lunar mission, the Kelly brothers were on CNN, and
Hmm.
Scott said about how we need to go to the moon because there is tritium there, H3.
Helium-3.
That's right. Helium 3, yes.
Hmm.
That is needed to create the power. So in mentioning this, it was to some degree accurate that he was wanting tritium to do this with, but it's a stretch as to how it came about. I mean, it's just interesting that they chose that element or, you know, helium 3
Um,
to do that. It's kind of
So well, I'm
I
trying to
mean,
be careful what I don't want to say anything inaccurate about this. I
again,
don't know.
this is
I don't
Marvel.
think
You
there's
can
any
be inaccurate.
value. I don't well that's the thing is I don't think there is a much the sciencey aspect in Spider-Man 2. I don't
Yes.
think that there's enough there to hook it to anything real world-ish.
No, it's just interesting that they chose the writers chose that element to make it the power source for this device. It's an interesting coincidence. And again, also in for all mankind, that is the element that they were digging up on the moon to pay for all the moon missions and the Mars missions was using H3.
Yeah, but
So I'm just thinking they were a little, maybe, were they a little ahead of themselves on
no,
this?
no, no,
No?
no,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
no. I don't think it connects. I don't think it connects at all.
Okay. I was
But
just,
was there enough, like when you watch it, like did the science take away from it, or is it just like when you're watching other science fiction where it's like it's not real, but it does not
Yeah,
impede enjoyment of the movie?
yeah. It did not. For me, anyway, it did not impede. Like, there is some amount of if I'm going to a movie and I know they're pretty much making stuff up, I'm just not
Hmm.
gonna, not gonna worry about it. It's that whole like, as long as things are generally self-consistent. And yes, I understand the detail that you're picking on, Chris, but I don't think that there's a major
Okay.
inconsistency there.
okay.
Yeah. I don't think it's an
Yeah.
inconsistency. I just feel like it would have been smarter to use a smaller one, and
Yeah.
then that maybe would have worked with a larger
Well, no,
unit.
no,
But
no. But
again,
that's the okay. So, but here's the thing, right? It's a Marvel movie. It's a movie. You go
yeah.
bigger. You don't go smaller. Yes,
Exactly
in
But you
right.
real
build
life, if
a
you're doing a
larger.
okay, if he was doing a real science experiment and didn't work, then yes, maybe the real thing to do is to think, let me try this on a smaller scale before I go big. But this
No,
is a blockbuster movie.
I don't
Yeah.
mean a smaller scale. Like you can still build the large machine, just use a
Yeah.
smaller amount of tritium. Don't use it all in
Again,
one.
no.
It
See,
wouldn't
that's
have mattered because you're not seeing it. It wouldn't have taken away from the grandiose
sure, sure.
experience of a big giant ball of sun or whatever it is. It looks like a
Yeah.
sun.
I
I
I
just
don't
know.
know.
It
like
was
the,
also weird that it looked like a sun. But
I
but
just like,
again,
okay. I
It
just
it's
like
the
the
works,
fact
same.
but
that, I like the fact that he robs a bank
yeah.
to finance his building of it. So he's using legal means to purchase all the equipment by using nefarious means to finance it, even though we really don't see him take the money when he breaks into the bank.
But yeah,
So
as
Oh,
Dill pointed out, like he goes through all that trouble and maybe gets away with one bag of change, like one
that's
bag of.
right.
well,
Granted, that would have
so
been a lot of money,
while I
but
was
not.
watching it, my older son, Frank, walked in at that scene during the bank robbery scene. He walked in and his comment was, why, if he's stealing money, why is he using the money to like hurt Spider-Man?
Yes.
Yeah, I always
Like
took it
that.
as
And,
that there's
and
just so
yes.
much money there that he's like, you know what, I can probably waste one on this guy, get him out of the way, and then I can take everything else. But he doesn't get away with anything,
And
No.
and
really.
of course he's buying all this equipment, and somewhere there's a company going, so Dr.
Yeah,
Octavius, how are you paying for this? Oh, I've got coins. Here are some coins to
yeah.
pay for it. And how much time it takes him to do that. And where do you go? Is this, like nefarious machinery are us or something that you buy all
I've
this
always
stuff
wondered
from?
that.
Yeah.
That's
But that's
always
okay.
kind of
But that's
been.
okay because he has to do it.
Yeah,
He has to do
it
it.
still works, and it's still fun to see him with his arms, like doing all the assembly and doing all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that was kind of the point, is that's what we want to see, right? That's
Yeah.
that's what we all wanted to see.
And the
So
arms, you go ahead, Chris.
I'm very curious. How did you guys feel about like what I would call the horror element, like specifically the scene where the doctors are trying to like remove the arms, and then they just start messing everybody up, and the zoom ins, like the rapid zoom ins of people
That
As
kind of
they're
killing
I'll
them.
being,
say, and I think maybe just as I've gotten older, my tolerance for that has gone down. I could have done with a little less gore.
Hmm. It's funny because I don't think it was gory in the sense, but it was like very violent. Like Dill
yeah,
was just
Yeah. It
big.
was
I
it was
did not like
extra
those scenes.
vicious. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it was
Which
done just to show just how horribly evil he's become, that he's just all humanity is gone and he has no problem grabbing people by the face with these claws and
Yep.
tossing them aside like
And
rag dolls.
yeah, it's also just a Sam Raimi thing because if you go back and if you ever watch like the Evil Dead movies, specifically Evil Dead 2, that's the one that I
Mhm.
can deal with. I have time with the first one,
And
but that they will show like even like tracking shots of the Deadites, and
mhm,
you'll see them like um following Bruce Greenwood, or not Bruce Greenwood, I can't remember his name, Bruce Campbell
mhm,
around the thing. And they sort of do that when you see see it from the arm's point of view. And so
Yeah.
he does like the crazy camera angles, the rapid movement. I mean, he also did that in Doctor Strange too,
mhm.
which I enjoy that element, but I can see why it's not everyone's favorite. Like Dill was just like, let me like I don't want to watch this part. So we ended up fast forwarding it because it was a bit much for her.
I will
Yeah,
say
my
this,
tolerance for
that
that was
yeah,
different 20 something years ago.
yeah. But I will
Yeah.
say this, that if I was ever in an operating room and someone had a chainsaw
Yeah.
as a medical device, I would say, no, I'm leaving. Thank you for
Mhm.
offering to use a chainsaw to lop off a limb or something like that.
It was very much a we have no other choice because like we can't get
Yeah.
the surgery off. I was thinking you were going to go the route of if I'm a doctor and a patient comes in with giant tentacles, I would want to bail, even though you're the doctor, and it's like, well, you can't because it's your job and you have to do that.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, I would not want to any part of that. And yeah, the chainsaw is not a comforting thing.
No.
If luckily he's knocked out, so he's not hearing that, or we
Yes.
assume he's not hearing that conversation
Yeah. Yeah. So
or hearing the sound of the chainsaw.
just that, and there was the circular saw they also have in there. They're going to try to chop off. It's like, let's just cut it off. It's no big
Mhm.
deal.
Well,
Yeah.
but I imagine if I'm thinking of like real life, I mean, we know when people get trapped into cars and auto accidents, there is some
Yes.
serious equipment that gets brought out. So I can
Yeah.
imagine that it is possible someone is coming into an emergency room impaled with a piece of equipment, or so I can imagine.
Yeah.
So I guess that's
No.
one of the reasons why
I
that didn't,
remember
I don't know.
my grandma telling us a story about when she had like hip surgery, and she said that, oh, she was on there, they were doing the surgery and all this stuff, and she thought, oh, that's really like weird that there's construction outside. So she thought there was a construction zone. And then when she was done the surgery, she was asking about it. They said, oh, there's no construction zone. So she was hearing like saws and all that, like
Yeah.
Hmm.
construction.
And they
Like if they
do
have to take
use
a
it.
bone off of you, like
Yeah.
I feel like they're using something that's like a medical circular saw.
There is a bone saw, absolutely. Yeah, it's just but a chainsaw is another thing, altogether. That seems a little.
So
Anyway,
how did you feel switching gears about the
okay.
Harry situation and like that conflict between Harry Osborn and Peter Parker?
Eh, it's there, but it doesn't. It's like I hate you, but you're my friend, so you're my friend. But I hate you, but you're my friend. And then in the end, he finds out, oh yeah, you're the guy that killed my dad. Oh, I hate you. And then he takes on his dad's persona, which is in the next film. I forget, in
Yeah,
Spider-Man
the next
3,
film they
the
deal
Green
with that.
Goblin returns again. It's like,
Mhm.
did they
Mhm.
run out of super villains that they had to go back to the one from the first film? And the Green Goblin in the first film, he's a great character.
Yeah,
Yes.
he is so
I
Yes.
cool.
love how William Dafoe immediately he's looking in a mirror and he is good guy, in the
Hmm.
mirror he's bad guy. And I mean, just
Yeah.
that's great acting, and he does it there, and he reprises that in Homecoming as well. Like,
Hmm.
Yeah.
is that the one where all three of them are
Yeah.
together?
That's I always
Oh,
confuse. I think it's No Way Home.
No Way Home. Okay, maybe it's that one. Yeah. I love William
So
Dafoe.
I
I
was
think he's a
I was
great actor.
okay
Mhm.
with James Franco and because he's clearly not dealt with the trauma of losing his dad.
Hmm.
So it seemed to be okay. I mean, it was more that it was just sad that here you've got this guy who has kind of like everything. Well, I mean, again, at least he's got financial means, so he could, hire the best therapists and do all the work, and he's clearly not. So he's tortured. So it's almost like it's sad because it's like to some degree he's doing that to himself because there are other options.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed natural, I guess, given the situation that, yeah, he's pretty messed up because of his dad. And he's got this thought that's in his head, Spider-Man killed my dad.
Right.
And then when he finds out that his best friend is Spider-Man and he's massively conflicted, it made sense to me. I didn't have an issue
Yeah,
with
that's
it.
how I kind of felt. Like it definitely makes sense, and I do
Mm-hmm.
like the tension. And I love, like, my favorite is not so much when he's angry at Peter, but I like it. Like, I think the best for me or the most interesting is when they're at the birthday party, and he's being very friendly, but then he's like, "Oh, what about you're hanging out with Spider-Man again?" And he's like, kind of gets a little bit angry, but then he's back to being friendly
Right,
versus
right.
the weird drunk fight that he gets into where
Hmm.
he just lets it all out, which is still
Yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the more like slightly sinister, like, hey, you've been spending a lot of, oh, you're still spending time with Spider-Man. Is that why you can't hang out with me? Is that what's
Yeah.
going on?
Mm-hmm.
Which again,
So I thought that.
in his mind, Spider-Man killed his dad. So it's
Mhm.
like, hey, best friend, bestie, you're my bestie. Why are you hanging out with the dude who killed my dad?
They killed my dad. Exactly.
Right? So
Mm-hmm.
his anger and his like, he wants his best friend, but he wants his best friend on his side, but he doesn't know yet his best friend is Spider-Man. And oh, by the way, he doesn't know the nuances of the circumstances of his dad's death, which we all know,
Mhm.
of course. So, like I said, I thought if you put yourself in his shoes and look at the world from his point of view, his reactions all made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And I actually like I know Spider-Man 3 gets a lot of flack and deservedly so, but I do like how they end up resolving that storyline. And
I
they
don't
kind of
remember. I guess I got to go
I
back and watch Spider-Man 3.
I
I
yeah.
don't
couldn't get
really
into
remember
it.
it
They
that well.
basically he becomes the Hobgoblin, a bunch of stuff happens, and
Yeah.
then Bernard, who weirdly I always assumed his name is Bernard, but Thingy calls him Bernard in the movie.
Hmm.
It's Butler. And then in the third movie, he's like, "Hey, by the way, Harry, like when I cleaned the wounds off from your dad, I realized that actually it was from the glider, so it wasn't Spider-Man." And then he's like, "Oh, I had this wrong the whole time." And then they kind of
Yeah,
make
I
it.
don't remember. I don't remember 3 enough. Yeah.
Spider-Man 3 is, I would say, I like aspects of it. It's probably a good like laundry if you're doing something, some kind of housework, or you're doing something annoying. It's probably a good time to put on Spider-Man 3.
I
I will
I
watch it from time to time
I
because I do have a soft spot for it, but it's not the same level of enjoyable that this is.
I like how you use the term I'm doing something annoying. I'll watch this.
Yeah. Like
That's
I
a
will
It's
very
like
watch it
it
interesting
makes
from
the
like
time to
annoying thing
endorsement for a
time
seem not so
film.
bad then.
because I feel like for me, there's a lot of good parts in the movie, a lot of aspects that I like, but then there's just a lot of stuff that doesn't really work. Whereas by and large, this movie I think works. One thing we haven't touched on is the screaming. I mentioned the screaming in the intro, but like that really took Dill out. The amount of times that people were screaming hysterically at the camera. Like, if you
Hmm.
remember, like there's one example, like one of the funniest ones is when Doc Ock is climbing up the building and he's fighting or not fighting, he's
Oh, okay,
facing
okay.
Aunt May.
Yeah.
And then there's like a woman that like runs, she's like panicking and then runs toward the camera. She screams at the end of
Yes.
the and then comes towards to the front, like comes towards the camera and then keeps screaming, like super
Yes.
high pitched screaming. And they all do that.
Okay. No, that one was completely ridiculous. But I think what threw me is when you said the beginning of the movie, because I feel like that's already like a third halfway in, or I don't know. It didn't,
Oh, I don't know.
doesn't,
I mean, I
yeah.
said at the beginning of the intro, like when I mentioned,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
when I did
okay.
my
Yeah.
intro to the movie, but not that it happened at the beginning of the movie.
Okay.
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 Yeah,
That threw
because it
me. But
doesn't
yes,
really. Oh, sorry.
It's
Go
no,
ahead.
I know which one you're talking about. And yes, it was over the top ridiculous for sure.
And I feel like there's like a bunch of them. Like there's like a bunch of people that just scream really crazily. And granted, they are dealing with Doc Ock, but I feel like that might. I don't know if that was a Sam Raimi thing or if that was just like we're trying to convey that this is a comic book movie and that we're going to have some fun with it, even though like we'll deal with some serious elements, but
hmm
we want to remind the audience that it's a comic book movie and that we're adding that. So that element, I think that was probably Dill's biggest complaint from the movie was the screaming, other than maybe the Sam Raimi horror stuff that he
Yeah.
introduces.
Didn't he do Evil Dead or something like that?
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. Is like he did like his biggest franchise is probably The Evil Dead.
That's what I
So if you
thought.
so I remember like watching The Evil Dead and being like, oh, this looks like Spider-Man too, and then being like, oh, that makes so much sense as to
Okay.
why. Like little things, like even when like there's a scene when they're in the cafe and Mary Jane is like, I love you, Peter. Do you love me? And you can hear Doc Ock coming, and then it like zooms in between, I think like it goes from like Peter to MJ back to Peter, and it like does this weird like zoom in thing. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, straight out of the Evil Dead.
Okay. Yeah.
She didn't like those elements
I
too
I'm
much.
al- I'm also surprised that I remembered he'd made Evil Dead. I don't even know why that memory popped into my my head when I have a hard time remembering a lot of unique and interesting things. But anyway,
Yeah, and that's why like Bruce Campbell is in all three movies, and then also shows up again in Doctor Strange too, because it's like, oh, he's a big buddy with Bruce Campbell, so it's like, I'll do you a favor by having you come into the movies,
hmm.
letting you cameo.
Okay. Um, what else, Chris, about the movie? I will say this that amongst the three different actors that have played Spider-Man, Tom Holland is my favorite. And the
Mhm.
reason why is
Oh,
he comes off more like a teenager in those, which he's supposed to be.
So I will agree. I will say this: Tom Holland, on not on paper, probably by and large is a better Peter Parker. And probably the best Peter Parker, just because of he does such a great job of conveying that he is a teenager, he's a kid. But
Hmm.
for me, and it's also might be nostalgia and when I first saw Spider-Man, but like Pierce Brosnan for being James Bond, Tobey Maguire to me is Peter Parker. There's
yeah,
everybody else who's doing Peter Parker, and I love Tom Holland, think he's amazing, but for me, Tobey Maguire is Peter Parker.
Well, he
And
I
I've
established
agree.
like
it. He
never
established it. He
he
established
established
it.
it. That's
Yeah.
probably why, because I remember I was in grade 5 when the first one came out. Okay. So I was a young kid. So to me, Tobey Maguire is Peter Parker
Well,
because
okay. So I agree. He's my favorite. And again, it's no knock on Tom Holland because I think Tom Holland did a great job of
Hmm.
it. The dude in the middle, whose name I'm even blanking about.
Andrew
Andrew
Fried,
Garfield.
Andrew
I feel
Garfield.
I
Yeah.
feel bad to that I'm blanking on his name because it's
Yeah, that's
disrespectful.
okay.
But yeah, but no, Tobey Maguire to me is Peter Parker and is Spider-Man. But remember, there were other Spider-Man films before this. Tobey
Mhm.
Maguire Spider-Man film. There were like a couple movies made in the late 70s, which I think
That's
I
right.
saw Once Upon a Time,
I
but
don't
this was
remember
already like
those.
remaking of the franchise or whatever too. So there's other Spider-Mans to consider as well.
Including
Yeah.
the animated series, which really established everything, and that
Mhm.
and the
Which I
song.
loved. Yeah,
Yeah,
so they no
Yeah.
well no
That
no no
yeah.
not no
actually,
there was right there was that animated series, but then there was another animated series in the 2000s
Oh,
or
really?
2010s. Yes,
Okay.
because I know
oh, I
because
think
that was
so.
around the time that
Oh,
my older
yes,
son
yes.
was watching TV and we watched that one a lot. And I enjoyed that one too.
Isn't that where they use different type of animation in throughout, where they kind of juxtapose? They have different
No,
types
are you
of.
talking about
Oh, is that the other
Into the
one?
Spider-Verse,
Oh,
which is
that's in the
Yeah.
also
Spider-Verse.
which is
Okay.
as a film, as a Spider-Man film, that's my favorite Spider-Man film for sure.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's where Dill, I would have to ask her, but I think that's where she would rank. Like it's hard for me to say which one I think actually the Spider-Man 2 is my favorite of those movies because of the nostalgia and watching it. But then obviously Spider-Man like Into the Spider-Verse does such a good job of one giving us a different Peter Parkers. And I like
Yeah.
middle-aged Peter Parker played by I can't think of the actor. I know him from New Girl. Um whose name escapes me. He plays one of the like the main friend in New Girl. I'll have to look up his name.
Okay.
I don't
Don't
know.
I might
remember.
know it.
But yeah,
Um,
I agree with you, Chris. I like that one just because you bring all three of them together and you qualify why there were three different actors playing it. And this is, of course, Marvel's usage of the multiverse to its extent.
Well, that as well. I'm talking about Into the Spider-Verse, like the animated.
Oh,
But I
yes.
like,
Okay.
but to me, that's one thing I wanted to say. And I'd have to actually think about all the different, like all the new Trek we've seen. But I
Hmm.
was saying to Bill that bringing back Doc Ock and the Green Goblin, but specifically the Doc Ock, and bringing him into the third Spider-Man movie, Far From Home or No
Hmm.
Way Home, is maybe one notch below the Enterprise D coming back. Because that's just like the idea that they brought back one of my favorite villains of all time into a new Spider-Man movie and then bringing Tobey Maguire back is just like, what could I
Yeah.
ask? Like, what more could I ask for as a kid? Like, as a kid who
Hmm.
grew up with those movies, it's
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Even though I think as a movie, I like how focused Spider-Man 2 is. It's like you've got one villain, you have him dealing with him trying to balance Spider-Man and Peter Parker, which I will
Hmm.
say, out of all the superheroes, I think Peter Parker and Spider-Man is probably the most, how would I phrase it? Whereas I can't think of how I would phrase it, but like if you look at Batman, like Bruce Wayne, Batman is Bruce Wayne, but Bruce Wayne is almost an alter ego to Batman, like something that he is every once in a while,
Yeah.
but not really. He's definitely more Batman, but Peter Parker and Spider-Man are almost equal parts because he's just as believable as Peter Parker when he's being Peter Parker as he is
Yeah.
being Spider-Man. Where you can tell when Bruce Wayne is being, or when Batman is being Bruce Wayne, he's putting
Hmm.
on like he's
Yeah.
doing an act, not really who he is.
I,
So I
I
love
agree
that.
with you. No, I agree with you, Chris. I think that as a character, as a as a superhero, his alternate life is very mundane, very natural. People can relate to the
Yeah.
problems that Peter Parker has to go through as a teenager, as a young adult. It is relatable. Whereas, yes, Bruce Wayne is ultra rich and way out there, and he can do anything. And
Mhm.
and even though even Superman, he has this all. His Clark Kent character is kind of a doofus and whatever. But you're right. People can relate to Peter as a person
Because
and the
he's not
trials
putting on
and
an act
Well, because he
when
could be
he
anybody. He could be anybody.
yeah, he
correct.
could be anybody, exactly. And that's what makes it, I think, is so great. And I think that this film did such a good job of balancing, like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you're a superhero, but also it means you might be late for your job and get fired because you're trying to save the
Yes.
kids
Yeah.
or kids who are playing with the ball and stupidly running in front of a truck when you should be
Well,
delivering those pizzas.
It's
right. And
exactly right.
but I think also that's why Into the Spider-Verse worked so well because they
Yeah.
really showed like, yes, it could be anybody. And in every universe, it is someone different.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
showing how why am I not thinking of his name? Uh Miles Morales, like showing his life and
Mhm.
showing that yeah,
Yes.
cool, he has the spider
Yes.
power, but also he's just a kid
Yeah.
trying to
Hmm.
make it less on time, trying to just balance his life
Right.
with being a man. So
And
always, always fun.
I think that is the magic of Spider-Man, and that's why he's so beloved as a superhero from the Marvel comics, is that he is someone you can relate to. You can appreciate his life and what he has to deal with on such many different levels. So yeah, good choice, Chris.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you guys watched it because this is
Hmm.
a comfort movie, and I was just feeling like, it's been a rough couple of weeks where work is really busy. So I was like, I need something comfortable, like a
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2. So I
Yep.
appreciate you guys watching it. And
Hmm.
as usual, thank you for the amazing conversation as we're talking about the amazing Spider-Man. And that about does it for another episode of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast. Remember, you can find us where you find your favorite podcasts, and we love getting feedback, questions, or even suggestions for future episodes. So please definitely let us know. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week. Same place, same time.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Big Sci Fi Podcast. We're a proud part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, and you can listen to more of our over 150 episodes at trekgeeks.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel now. Until next time, live long and prosper.